Hello ladies and welcome to the channel. The greatest mystery of a powerful woman isn't what she shows you, but what she withholds. When it comes to Sigma females, the attempts to control, manipulate, or remotely influence them are met with reactions that few expect: silent, unpredictable, and devastatingly effective. These women don't play by anyone's rules but their own, and the moment someone tries to pull their strings, they vanish into a realm where control loses all meaning. The truth is, trying to remote a Sigma female is like trying to grip smoke. Slippery, untouchable, and ultimately you're left with nothing but confusion. What follows is not confrontation, but a series of surprising, calculated responses that leave those who attempt to control her questioning everything they thought they knew. Here are the unexpected, often chilling reactions you'll face when you dare to remote a Sigma female. Number 1. Complete emotional shutdown. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, her first line of defense is an emotional shutdown so complete it's as if she's flipping a switch to off. It's not the kind of detachment that's subtle or slow, it's immediate and absolute. One minute you're dealing with someone who's present, attentive, and engaging, and the next, she's as emotionally distant as a blank wall. You'll notice it right away in her eyes, her body language, her tone. There's a chilling stillness that takes over, like her emotions just cease to exist. This isn't passive aggression or silent resentment, it's far deeper. The Sigma female cuts off her emotional response because she recognizes in an instant that your intentions are to control her. It's a defensive mechanism she's mastered over time, honed by experience. She doesn't lash out, she doesn't argue. Instead, she removes the one thing that makes her vulnerable: her emotions. You can't hurt someone who's emotionally unreachable, and that's the power she holds. You'll feel it too, like you're trying to connect with a person who's no longer there. This shutdown isn't temporary either. Once she's emotionally severed from you, it's nearly impossible to get back in. That bond, that connection you once had, is shattered, and you're left facing a version of her that's cold, calculated, and unreachable. No matter what you say or do, she will no longer respond with any semblance of feeling. You can't provoke her. You can't appeal to her empathy. It's like you've become invisible to her emotional radar. This sudden void leaves people shaken, often realizing too late that they've lost any control they thought they had. Number 2. Silent exit strategy. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, she doesn't waste time on arguments or long-winded explanations. Instead, she quietly devises an exit plan. It's subtle, almost imperceptible. One moment you're in her life, and the next you realize she's no longer there. She's a master of the silent exit strategy. There's no drama, no big confrontation, just a quiet and calculated disappearance. What makes this reaction so unsettling is how effortlessly she does it. You won't notice the signs. She won't leave clues or engage in passive-aggressive behavior. She simply starts distancing herself one small move at a time until one day you wake up and realize she's gone. It's not that she vanishes overnight, but rather she slowly removes herself from your life without giving you any opportunity to stop her. Her withdrawal is so seamless that by the time you notice, there's nothing you can do to reverse it. This isn't done out of spite or anger. For a Sigma female, it's about self-preservation. The moment she feels someone trying to manipulate or control her, she prioritizes her independence. She doesn't feel the need to explain her actions or justify why she's leaving. Her silent exit is her way of taking back control, ensuring that no one ever has the power to keep her where she doesn't want to be. By the time you realize what's happening, she's already moved on, emotionally and physically, leaving no room for negotiation or reconciliation. Number 3. Intellectual combat. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, she doesn't just sit back and take it. She engages in intellectual combat, cutting through manipulation with sharp, precise logic. This isn't your average argument. It's a battle of minds where she effortlessly dissects your intentions, leaving no room for games or deceit. Her intelligence becomes a weapon, one that strikes swiftly and without hesitation. She won't raise her voice or get emotional. Instead, she'll ask questions that expose the cracks in your reasoning, dismantling your attempts to control her piece by piece. She'll challenge every word you say, not aggressively, but with a calm, calculated approach that makes you second-guess your own logic. Every move she makes is deliberate, designed to push you into a corner where you can't hide behind manipulation or lies. What's most disarming is her ability to remain completely composed while doing this. Even when others might get flustered or defensive, she stays cool, collected, and focused, turning the conversation into a battlefield where she's always one step ahead. You'll find yourself caught in her web of intellect before you even realize it, losing ground as she methodically unravels every argument you thought would work. In the end, you're left outmatched with no power to influence her. You walk away knowing you tried, but also knowing that she saw right through you. Intellectual combat isn't just her defense, it's her way of showing that no one can manipulate her without facing the full force of her mind. Number 4. Emotional empathy _weaponized. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, her emotional empathy can catch them off guard. She doesn't immediately lash out or shut down. Instead, she taps into a deeper understanding of the emotions driving the manipulation. It's not that she's soft or easily influenced, far from it. She simply has an uncanny ability to see through your actions, recognizing the fears, insecurities, or desires that are pushing you to try and control her. But here's the twist. She doesn't let this empathy make her vulnerable. Instead, she uses it like a mirror, reflecting your own emotional state back at you. It's a subtle but powerful response. She'll listen, not to fall into your trap, but to figure out exactly what motivates you. Then, with unnerving accuracy, she'll show you the emotional flaws in your approach, exposing just how fragile your attempt to control her really is. This reaction is disarming because she doesn't need to argue or push back aggressively. She simply holds up a mirror to your emotional intent, and suddenly, you're forced to confront your own issues. It's as if she's saying, "I understand why you're doing this, but it's not going to work on me." In doing so, she strips away the power of manipulation without ever losing her composure. By the end of it, you're left feeling exposed, not because she attacked you, but because she saw right through you. Her empathy isn't a weakness. It's a tool that allows her to navigate and dismantle any emotional control without giving up her power. Number 5. Defiant freedom surge. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, it triggers something deep within her, a surge of defiant freedom that's impossible to suppress. She doesn't just resist, she doubles down on her independence, almost as if the attempt to control her fuels her desire to break free even more. This isn't a conscious decision, it's an instinctive response. Her need for autonomy kicks into overdrive, and suddenly, any influence someone thought they had over her dissolves into nothing. The more someone tries to box her in, the more determined she becomes to prove that no one can tell her what to do. She'll go out of her way to do the opposite of what's expected, not out of spite, but to remind herself and everyone else that her freedom is non-negotiable. It's almost like her spirit rebels at the very idea of being tethered to someone else's agenda. What's truly fascinating is that she doesn't need to vocalize this rebellion. You can feel it in her actions, in the choices she makes. She may suddenly start pursuing new interests, making bold decisions, or stepping outside of the roles she's been placed in. Every move she makes is a declaration of independence, a refusal to be confined by anyone else's expectations. This surge of defiant freedom isn't just a reaction, it's her way of reclaiming her power. She doesn't care about how it looks or what others might think. All that matters is that she stays true to herself, and no one, not even the most cunning manipulator, can take that away from her. Number 6. Mirror reflection tactic. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, she has a unique way of flipping the script. By using the mirror reflection technique, instead of getting defensive or pushing back, she reflects the other person's behavior right back at them. It's like holding up a mirror to their actions and letting them see exactly what they're doing. But she doesn't just copy their behavior, she amplifies it in a way that forces them to face their own manipulation. This isn't about playing games or stooping to their level. It's a calculated move that exposes the other person's motives without her having to directly call them out. For example, if someone tries to control her with subtle emotional pressure, she'll reflect that same pressure back, making them feel the weight of their own manipulation. The result? They start to feel uncomfortable, maybe even guilty, because now they're experiencing exactly what they were trying to inflict on her. What makes this so powerful is that she remains calm and composed the entire time. She doesn't need to explain what she's doing or confront them head-on. The person is left to figure it out on their own. And that's where the real impact lies. They're forced to see themselves in her reflection, and more often than not, it makes them realize how ineffective their attempts to control her really are. In the end, they walk away not only having failed to manipulate her, but also having learned something about themselves, whether they wanted to or not. The Sigma female's ability to reflect someone's behavior back at them is a quiet yet devastatingly effective way of showing them that she's untouchable. Number 7. Rapid mental detachment. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, her ability to rapidly detach mentally is both unsettling and impressive. The moment she senses manipulation, she cuts off any emotional or mental investment with shocking speed. It's not a gradual process, and there's no lingering attachment. One second she might seem engaged, and the next, it's like a switch flips in her mind, and she's completely disengaged from the situation. This mental detachment isn't cold or callous. It's pure self-preservation. She recognizes when someone is trying to pull strings, and rather than getting entangled in their web, she simply disconnects. It's not that she doesn't care, but she understands the power of her own mind and refuses to let anyone take control of it. She'll smile, nod, and continue the conversation if necessary, but mentally she's already miles away. People often don't realize this detachment is happening in real time, and that's what makes it so powerful. While someone thinks they're still in control, she's already disconnected, observing the situation from a safe emotional distance. By the time they catch on, they've lost any hold they thought they had. The Sigma female can sever that mental link so quickly that the person trying to manipulate her is left confused, wondering why their tactics suddenly aren't working. What's truly remarkable about this reaction is how effortlessly she can move on once the detachment is complete. There's no emotional residue, no need to explain herself, no second thoughts. It's as though the person and their attempt at control never mattered in the first place. Number 8. Inevitable isolation tactic. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, one of the most striking reactions is her ability to isolate herself. She doesn't need to argue, retaliate, or prove a point. Instead, she calmly retreats into her own space, cutting off access to her world entirely. It's not an emotional shutdown, it's a deliberate tactic. She distances herself physically and mentally, creating a boundary that no one can cross. This isolation isn't just about removing herself from the situation. It's a power move. By isolating herself, she forces the person trying to manipulate her to deal with the absence of her presence. The control they sought slips through their fingers because they no longer have any influence over her. She's unreachable, untouchable, and completely in control of her environment. What's even more unsettling is how easy it is for her to do this. She's comfortable being alone, and isolation doesn't scare her, it strengthens her. While most people fear being cut off or losing connections, the Sigma female thrives in her solitude. She uses that time to recharge, reflect, and become even more independent, leaving the person who tried to control her feeling powerless and frustrated. Her isolation isn't about avoidance, it's about taking back her autonomy. She chooses when and where to engage, and when she pulls away, it's on her terms. By the time someone realizes they've been shut out, it's already too late. She's long gone, completely removed from their reach, and they're left wondering how they lost control so quickly. Number 9. Mysterious dissolution of control. When someone attempts to remote a Sigma female, one of the most surprising reactions is her ability to make control seem to dissolve almost magically. It's not about overt rebellion or dramatic gestures. Instead, it's about an almost effortless erosion of the power that was trying to be exerted over her. The more someone tries to assert control, the more she makes it look like that control never really existed. She doesn't fight back in the conventional sense. There's no open confrontation or struggle. Instead, she uses a subtle, almost imperceptible technique to undermine any influence. She'll change the dynamic so smoothly that it feels like the manipulative power you tried to wield just melts away. It's as if she's removing any trace of your control with the finesse of a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. What's truly intriguing is how this dissolution of control seems almost inevitable. It's like watching a carefully constructed illusion fall apart. The more you try to tighten your grip, the more she makes it clear that it was never really in your control. Her ability to shift the balance of power without making it obvious is both unsettling and mesmerizing. You're left grappling with the realization that despite your best efforts, she was always beyond your reach. This reaction is disarming because it turns the concept of control on its head. It's not just about rejecting or resisting, it's about making control seem irrelevant and ineffective. By the time you come to terms with the fact that you've lost any power over her, she's already moved on. And the control you thought you had is nothing more than a distant memory. Number 10. Unapologetic rejection. When someone tries to remote a Sigma female, her response can be strikingly unapologetic. She doesn't hedge or soften her rejection. She delivers it with an honesty that's both powerful and unflinching. There's no attempt to cushion the blow or make excuses. She's direct and clear, leaving no room for misunderstanding. This kind of rejection is shocking because it's so clean and definitive. She doesn't engage in endless discussions or explanations. Instead, she simply shuts down any attempts at control with a straightforward dismissal that makes her stance abundantly clear. It's not about being harsh or cruel. It's about being uncompromisingly honest. She doesn't feel the need to justify her decision or make anyone feel better about it. What you see is what you get, and if she's done, she's done. What makes this reaction so compelling is the confidence behind it. She stands firm in her rejection, showing no remorse or hesitation. This isn't just about saying no. It's about demonstrating that her boundaries are non-negotiable and her independence is absolute. Her unapologetic nature forces the other person to confront the reality that their attempts to control or manipulate her are not just futile but entirely unacceptable. In the end, this response leaves a powerful impression. It's a clear message that she won't be swayed, and any efforts to remote her are not only doomed, but met with a resolute refusal that's impossible to ignore. In the end, trying to remote a Sigma female is like grappling with an enigma. Her reactions are as diverse as they are powerful, each one a testament to her unwavering independence and unassailable strength. From her complete emotional shutdown to her unapologetic rejection, she demonstrates that her autonomy and self-control are not to be trifled with. Each reaction is a reminder that trying to manipulate or control her only highlights her resilience and reinforces her detachment. Her silent exits, intellectual combat, and defiant freedom surges are not just responses. They are affirmations of her self-sufficiency and her refusal to be molded by anyone's agenda. Whether through rapid mental detachment or an inevitable isolation tactic, she shows that her inner world is hers alone, impervious to external influence. Ultimately, the experiences of those who attempt to remote a Sigma female reveal one undeniable truth. Her strength lies in her ability to remain steadfast and untouched. Her reactions serve as powerful reminders of her unique place in the spectrum of human interaction, an individual who stands resolute in her independence, leaving any attempt to control her both futile and revealing. In the end, trying to remote a Sigma female is like grappling with an enigma. Her reactions are as diverse as they are powerful, each one a testament to her unwavering independence and unassailable strength. From her complete emotional shutdown to her unapologetic rejection, she demonstrates that her autonomy and self-control are not to be trifled with. Each reaction is a reminder that trying to manipulate or control her only highlights her resilience and reinforces her detachment. Her silent exits, intellectual combat, and defiant freedom surges are not just responses. They are affirmations of her self-sufficiency and her refusal to be molded by anyone's agenda. Whether through rapid mental detachment or an inevitable isolation tactic, she shows that her inner world is hers alone, impervious to external influence. Ultimately, the experiences of those who attempt to remote a Sigma female reveal one undeniable truth. Her strength lies in her ability to remain steadfast and untouched. Her reactions serve as powerful reminders of her unique place in the spectrum of human interaction, an individual who stands resolute in her independence, leaving any attempt to control her both futile and revealing. If you found these insights into Sigma females fascinating, hit the subscribe button to get more intriguing content like this. Join our community and stay updated on the powerful dynamics of independence and resilience. Subscribe now and dive deeper into the world of Sigma personalities.